you're doing it wrong. There's a lie in it somewhere. So, we're having a reasonably intense conversation. This is going well. We're both engaged. We're doing it right. Now, maybe we're not doing it as well as it could be done, but here we are and we're in it.
Yeah.
Well, if that experience isn't being offered by the church, then the church is doing it wrong. Well, what's right? Well, I don't know. Well, maybe I know a bit. I did a lot of lectures on the Bible. Public lectures, and they've been popular. Can I put my finger on why? Not easily. I took them seriously. I suppose. Now, is that to say the church doesn't? Yeah, it is to say that. The seriousness actually matters. Like, I took the story of Cain and Abel seriously. I studied it for years, trying to figure out what the hell it meant. The story of Adam and Eve, the story of Abraham. And those things have to be made alive. If you don't make them alive, then you're doing it wrong. And as soon as they come alive, then they attract people.
Right.
And so
it seems like we're touching on this disconnect, this difference between religion and spirituality. They're not the same. They can be the same, but here we're saying they're not the same.
Well, they need to be melded. That's the Dionysian and Apollonian marriage that Nietzsche spoke of, but it's also it's the place where dogma and spirit. Look, spiritual experience without structure can make you insane. It's very, very dangerous. But dogmatic structure bereft of the mysticism and spiritual is dead. It's a corpse. And the proper balance is somewhere in the middle. And we've known that as a species forever. I mean, the Egyptians regarded the highest God. And so he was the embodiment of the principle of sovereignty itself. He was Horus, who was the eye, the capacity to pay attention, allied with Osiris, who was the patriarch. So it was this living dynamism between lived experience, Dionysian experience even, and intense, emotional, highly motivated, and structure. Well, that's where valuable religious experience, the most valuable religious experience, occurs. It doesn't tear you into bits, which is the problem with unbridled mysticism, and the problem with psychedelics. I mean, when psychedelics were reintroduced to our society, it caused a tornado, a hurricane. We had no idea what to do with them. And so we made them illegal immediately. It's like, wow, we don't know what to do with these things. And they've been reintroduced into our culture after an absence of several thousand years. We have no idea how to deal with whatever they are. And we have no idea what they are. We have no idea.
And and I would argue, just as a side note, that the closest thing to psychedelic experience is in meditative practice, primarily mindfulness meditation. People have talked about this, ancient yogis, and Sam Harris talks about this as well, about reaching states of consciousness in consistent disciplined practice of meditation that is akin or almost identical to psychedelic experience, which is very powerful. And that's a different whole conversation. But so you're saying the spiritual absence within Christianity, that's a problem that you're identifying, and that's a big problem, you're saying, right?
It's a catastrophe.
It's a
catastrophe. Look, Nietzsche knew this 150 years ago.
Right.
He said, God is dead and we have killed him and we'll never find enough water to wash away all the blood.
So modern Christianity, you're saying, is not centered on spirituality, and that's a problem, just to be clear.
I'm not saying it's not centered on it exactly. I'm not criticizing it as if I'm the man with the answers or as an outsider. It's our problem as Westerners, let's say, that our central religious core has been hollowed out. And it's the fault of everyone, that the church practitioners, the religious authorities, it's their fault, but it's also the fault of those of us who are, let's say, alienated from the church. We haven't managed to the proper spiritual relationship with existence. We haven't managed that. And that's a terrible catastrophe.
Interesting. Right.
It's vitally important. It's vital. It's more important than anything else. It's the most important thing.